guys, today's going to be an exciting but somewhat brief video. I'm just going to give you guys a very, as concise as I can be, overview of how to master your mindset. I've touched on this topic obviously in other law of assumption videos. They're all the topics are interconnected. You can apply them all together and they all have an impact on one another. So I'm going to talk more about how to introduce subconscious positivity in your mind and just help your subconscious learn more positive habits. So this is just based on advice I've picked up from coaches and my own personal experience of using certain affirmations and how it's kind of helped me see things from a more positive perspective, which then helps me manifest quicker. If you enjoy this topic and want me to continue with law of assumption videos, please do thumbs up and subscribe and leave a comment of your thoughts on the video and any advice or any topics you'd like to see me cover next. And yeah, let's get started. I'll also just add a little point again that I am offering coaching services. Just because new people might be watching each of my law of assumption videos, so I do want to discuss it, that it's just something I'm trying out and testing. I have a whole Instagram page dedicated to it called LOA Coaching, and yeah, it's kind of separate from everything else, but that's like my main coaching page where I post content. So yeah, do go follow me, check it out. All the pricing information and what I'm doing and why is all there. So yeah, I'd highly appreciate that if you guys are interested, would like some one-on-one help. And let's just get started. So I have some points written down on my phone. I think I'll just stick to the 3 I've written down and give you guys a little bit of insight and examples of how these work. So first point I've written is something that's probably best to start with, and it's to write a list of all your negative beliefs about yourself. And that can be in relation to things like beauty, relationships, your personality, your intelligence, just every facet of your life, every part of you, your appearance, the way you are, your beliefs, the way you think, how you view your relationships in your life. So that can also be applied to, for example, your boss in your job. So it's not just a romantic or friend relationship. I mean like your relation to anyone that you experience in life. So yeah, obviously most people are focusing on an SP when it comes to starting with manifestation, but this, with relationships, it can be applied to anything. So only you will know what areas need the most work, what part of your beliefs is stopping you from manifesting. That's why I said try and think more broadly of all those areas, because I think we all have points in all of those different areas that we could work on. I did this about over a year ago, and I think it's probably helped a lot. It helped me identify my problem areas, what I was holding on to, what I was focusing on, and I'm not saying I've completely let them go. I'm still working through them, and I am aware that, I haven't been resolving certain areas as quickly as I would hope, or as in the most focused way that I would like, but it does help you realize, where your negativity lies. So what it is I think I've touched on this in a previous video. Just get a piece of paper or your laptop, whatever you want to do, however you want to write it out, and think of, I guess the hard part would be to actually come to the conclusion of what you need to change, but you just want to find a way to identify your negative beliefs. So you can either wait until you criticize yourself in some way and just be really vigilant of your thoughts. Like if you have an annoying moment in life and then you say, oh, this always happens to me, then you can kind of be like, hold on a second. What situation am I in, and what does this mean? What does this mean I see myself as? So it can also just be you looking in the mirror and being like, oh my gosh, I look so bad, I need to lose weight. There you go. That's one thing with your appearance, with beauty. You can, let's say obviously you then want to manifest your ideal figure. You want to lose weight, whatever it is. You can literally just say, I'm already at my ideal weight, but write it down on the piece of paper. And then when you have your whole list, then that's when you want to flip into positives. So again, just to give you guys some better understanding of what I'm trying to say with how to write and find those negative points. Maybe you want to meditate, get into a meditative state and kind of wait until thoughts come in, and then you can kind of analyze it. But again, sometimes we just don't have time for that and you want to get this done quicker. That's totally fine. Maybe just think about, you could literally put yourself in a mindset of criticism, be like, okay, what are the things I don't like about myself, or what have other people said to me, or I don't even know how I got to mine. I think they kind of just came to me. I thought about what areas of my life I wasn't happy with and what things I wanted to change. And then just based on that, I realized, okay, it's because I think this and think I have a problem with this person. So you can literally just write, I don't have a great relationship with this person. And then you flip it and you say, I have a perfect relationship with this person. It can be that simple. Yeah, so just find the positive opposite of what you're saying. Again, if you say you're fat, I have my ideal figure. I have my dream ideal weight. I weigh X kilos, whatever. Or you could say, I don't have enough money to do the things I want. Well, then you can flip that into, which is probably something that most of us believe. I think with money, that's something we all, unfortunately, have been socially conditioned to think a little bit more negatively about. So that can be literally be something like, I'm so rich. It can just be those 4 words. It doesn't have to be anything crazy or super deep and insightful. Just flip it into a positive. So it shouldn't be too difficult. I hope maybe some of that advice on how to find the negative points helped. And if you'd like me to, elaborate or anything, do leave a comment, or I can do a follow-up video more in depth. But yeah, then the next point, once you've done that, I think then you've recognized and figured out where that negativity is coming from. Then you want to add in your specific affirmations. Of course, I highly recommend you use the ones from the list where you flip them into positives. It would be really easy for you to just add those into your pre-existing affirmations, or just use those as your self-concept for now, because obviously self-concept is key, and you've identified all the areas of your life, right? Your relationships, your intelligence, the way you look, the way you act. You might think, oh, I'm just super stubborn, and that might be something that causes issues sometimes. You can just say, I'm really easygoing. I go with the flow. I'm a really chill, open person. Whatever you think the opposite is. It can be things like that, because that is going to feed into all of your manifestations. It's just going to help you within the frame of your manifestation just be better. So I do recommend you guys actually affirm or record affirmations and listen back to those affirmations, but do use the list that you wrote. And then moving on from that, you can affirm in different ways, add in certain words. So something that I like to do is I affirm that I only think positive thoughts. And I touched upon this in a self-concept video. I'm sorry about the lighting. The sun just went behind a cloud, so can we ignore the lighting change? But anyway, I affirm that I only think positive thoughts. I say things like, I naturally only think positive thoughts. I always only think positive thoughts. I know that I only think positive thoughts. And I'll repeat it like that when I'm looping that affirmation. It has helped. I definitely noticed that as I'm saying it, sometimes I'll get visuals or thoughts in my mind that are positive, that are happy, and it's absolutely related to that. I feel like I have a much more positive mindset now. I'm much more believing and trusting in anything being possible. So I do think that affirmation really does have power, and it's going to feed into your subconscious mind that, hey, we don't think negatively. And then it will just naturally create more positive thoughts. And again, that feeds into every manifestation, because if you think positively, then you're releasing and removing all those blocks to your other manifestations, right? So yeah, and it's going to make your mental diet easier as well. Another point of things that you can revise is to use revision. It's extremely powerful, and it's very, very effective for your self-concept as well. I affirm again that I have always had a perfect mental diet, which again is super important because it's kind of negating and removing any past events where my mental diet was really poor and it led to a really bad outcome. So I just personally believe in the power of revision, and I do believe that by me affirming that, it's gonna change those past manifestations where the complete opposite of what I wanted happened. So yeah, you can revise easily like that and just kind of cover every area of your life. So you can also revise by saying your normal affirmation, but adding in, I've always had, I've always been. So basically just, in past tense, and just say, past tense. So you can always say like, I've always had perfect self-concept. I've always had perfect mental health. I have always been perfect. One of my self-concept affirmations is I am perfect, which I think is very important because it covers literally your entire life, like all of you, right? You're not just saying my beauty is perfect or my relationships are perfect. You're just saying all of you. So something that you can do to kind of make those affirmations a little more powerful and change any of the negative patterns you've developed over the years is to revise it by literally just saying, I have always had, or I've always been the only person who blah, 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 blah. So yeah, just put it into a revision form of affirmation. I think it's very powerful. I use it for a number of my affirmations. And yeah, it might not be something you even see evidence of, might not show up in your 3D, you may not even get a bird before land. But over time, in subtle, more subconscious ways, I do believe it will literally change the past. So yeah, I can talk more about revision and everything. Sammy Ingram, as always, has amazing videos on revision. If you'd like to learn more about it, or what I'm saying sounds like absolutely cuckoo land, then you can watch her. She explains things in a little more detail, more reference to Neville Goddard. But yeah, these are my 3 points that I wanted to touch base on with you guys. Hopefully they were concise and easy to understand. Please do thumbs up and subscribe if you learned anything from this. I hope it helped. Leave a comment with your thoughts and any suggestions you have for future videos, and I'll see you next time. Bye.